It didn't take me long to know that you can make these wrongs feel right.
I'm Leah Holiove, and welcome to Spotlight. This is a feature where I interview local and upcoming bands to spotlight their talent and learn a little bit more about them and, of course, hear what they can do. So joining me in the studio today is Laura Koch and Ryan Koch of the Kwerks. Thanks for joining me today, guys.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
Good to be here.
Okay, I'm sure you get this a lot. So let's start off. Who came up with the band's name? Where did it come from?
The Kwerks. It came from a few different places. We like to have a lot of fun. It's more than music for us. We love to make people laugh and just have a good time. Our live performance is filled with funny stories, getting people laughing, and Ryan does a little ribbon dancing. And
your videos.
Yeah, a little bit of videos.
Yes, exactly. That's pretty much our live performance as well.
Yeah. So we're sort of playing off that, just that we're a little quirky and we like to have fun. But we also had a friend who we met online through the Vine app. I don't know if you're familiar with Vine.
I remember the Vine.
Yeah, so 6-second looping videos. And it became quite a weird little artistic community that was formed on there. And we met a guy whose tag name was Kwerky and really connected with him and some other people down in Oregon and the States. And he actually ended up being quite an inspiration to us in terms of performing and what we were doing. And unfortunately, he got cancer and he passed away. So the naming the band
tribute.
The Kwerks, was kind of a tribute to him.
They said I shouldn't lay it on the line.
You're a married couple.
We are.
Who sings together? When you spend a lot of time with somebody, right? It can be a little bit
true.
tough, but you guys look so happy. And I want to get sort of the backstory and how you two met.
We met at summer camp, actually.
We did.
Aw.
So Laura was like a longtime staff camper, I think.
Yeah.
I came up one summer as the new guy.
yeah.
Laura definitely had her sights on me.
I was going to say.
Apparently,
he
it's
loves
very
telling
clear.
this story, don't you, Ryan?
And then there was a talent show one night where staff could, sing or do whatever they wanted. So I paired up with these other two people and sang a song, and I think that was the ticket.
It's true.
Yeah, it all started from there.
We'll start with you, Ryan. How did you fall into music? Like, was it a passion since you were a kid, or can you tell us the story?
I wouldn't say it was a passion as a kid. My original introduction was more musical theater. So I did a production in high school. First one that I was brave enough to go out for was Fiddler on the Roof, and I loved it. And then after first year university, I took a year off and was in a musical for a whole year, performing and touring through North America and Western Europe. So that was kind of my introduction.
I played piano and I sort of made up songs all through my childhood. I was really shy to perform, but loved playing. And in my teenage years, I taught myself the guitar and then the mandolin. I just started sort of developing, the further sort of steps of becoming an artist and a songwriter. And
So when did the idea of the Kwerks form then? Because you both had some music in your life and then you married, had kids. Where did this all come from?
Yeah, well, from the get-go, when we first met, Ryan described me seeing him singing. So I said, okay, we're going to, do some songs together. So throughout that summer where we were working together, we would do the talent shows, the weekly talent shows, and we'd sing one odd song together. And that was a lot of fun. And so that was really the basis of our connection and our relationship.
She is pretty much all the Kwerks.
Well,
we have other band members, but
You're the K of the Kwerk.
yeah,
That's pretty much
probably.
it.
That's a fair assessment.
yeah, I do.
Do you
a
have
lot
any
of it,
say? Like, does she sing it for you, and you go yay or nay, or does she just say this is what you're singing?
We
I don't
quickly realized it was going to be much easier, more peaceful if she was the boss.
Yes. You
Because-
say we're
Man.
always happy, right?
Smart
but there
man.
have been some
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well-
challenges.
yeah. No, it's just better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are your major influences, each of you?
You go first.
I think of performers, so Gord Downey and just how he was free in his body and was original, and he wasn't like anyone else. Any musical theater artists, I just love that side of things. I think I've said that too many times, but I love performing and just showing how your body can express something. And there's so many musicians out there who are just so uncomfortable in themselves.
They're not performers.
Yeah, they're not
Yeah.
performers. So
Yeah.
they have great music, but then the performance is not there. And when people see you live, they want to engage, with their eyes and with their ears, with their full body. So that's what I love.
Well, you do a lot of that, I must say. And Laura, for you, who are your major
Yeah, for
influences?
me, so, I was listening to music like Simon and Garfunkel as a kid, like a lot of sort of the hippy-dippy stuff. And I grew up singing with my sisters. And so harmonies and stuff like that was always really big for me. But I would say probably in recent years, people like Ray LaMontagne, Coldplay even, some of the kind of, I don't know, chording and the emotion that he grabs.
It didn't take me long to know that you can make these wrongs feel right.
Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm Leah Holiove, and joining me in the studio, we've been chatting with Laura Koch and Ryan Koch of the Kwerks. Okay, so we were speaking of music before the commercial break there, and I just wanted to see if we can try and put your music into a category. I know I know you said it's kind of difficult, but what can we say to our listeners that it's sort of like? What would you say?
Well, what we often will say is rhythmic folk pop.
I love that.
Which I think describes maybe like 70% of it, And then we have a few that sound a little more pop rock, and we have a few that sound a little more bluegrassy and different things. And the most recent song we released, which is what we're going to be talking about today, is much more kind of, I want to call it funk pop. Like it's just a totally different sound for us.
You thought you had it inside. You thought you had it all right. Hey.
It's called Grumpy Business.
Love it.
We put out a Christmas video kind of to say hello to all our followers and fans, and it's in the form usually of a song and a goofy video, and it's our opportunity to break out of whatever molds we feel like we're in for the year. Really, we experiment, we have fun, and so this song was just so much fun to record and put together, and we just went into the studio with Rick Calhoun in New West in Soundcastle and played for a day.
Nice.
Just had so much fun.
What has been the biggest challenge, would you say, starting up the band together? What has been sort of the biggest
That's
hurdle
a good
you've had
question.
to jump over?
Do you want to talk or do you want me to?
I can start. So, from my perspective, I think one of the biggest difficulties is that, there's this threshold that you need to get to with a band, where up to it, you're all working and you're all trying to fit in music as you can. So that makes it really difficult to schedule out of town performances, to do festivals, because
People are
they're
working.
all working.
Yeah.
And our band is a band of, we call them the band of dads, because they
Totally.
are all dads.
Breadwinning dads,
And they're all main breadwinners in their family, most of them. So
we have so much fun with them, but it's a
that's the
tricky
hurdle.
dynamic.
Do you find it difficult here for getting into the music industry? I know Vancouver, everybody thinks of Toronto. Do you find it a little bit more difficult here?
Well, it depends on what you're aiming for, really, and part of our journey has been really to define what our goals are. If we were to try to be making it big in the Canadian music scene, then yes, we'd be aiming at trying to get to Toronto and blasting into that market. I think we want to ultimately play live as much as we can, share our music with people, make people laugh, make them feel good, inspire them, and that is where, and ideally we'd like to make some money while doing it. Let me not forget
That would be
that
nice.
side of it.
Keep these feet on this ground, no sir, I'm gonna fly. So take a picture of that.
Because we're the Kwerks and we found a bit of a niche for who we are, and we have a bit of a brand that sets us apart from others, I think we have had an easier time than others who have just kind of, they go by their first name and they're really just like all the other singer-songwriters out there. So on that sense, I think it's been easier.
Yeah.
We've had some successes in Searchlight and other things that have allowed us to build off of. We were in a Dominion Lending Center's commercial campaign a few years ago, so that helps.
Yeah.
So all those things really helped us in some way.
Yeah,
I
for
think it helps that we also have a passion for marketing and business
Yeah.
a little bit. Like, it's sort of a side thing, but we love the challenge of seeing where we can take things and thinking about, you know, the best way to get into people's minds and to get them to remember us.
So, what is Kwerk Nation? Please enlighten our listeners.
Kwerk Nation is the beloved nickname for the people who follow us and support us and love us, and people who come out to our shows, and really it was created through the CBC Searchlight and the sort of campaigns we ran for voters, because a lot of the contest was built on this sort of public voting, and so we just blasted out, you know, reminders to people, and will you join our Facebook group and be reminded and
Be part of the nation.
yeah,
Exactly,
exactly.
yeah.
It kind of took on a life of its own in a lot of ways. I mean, the very first time we did Searchlight, that first year, I think that's when we sort of tagged it Kwerk Nation, but it was because it already existed. You know, we just put a name to it.
But you don't get to plead, and that won't change a thing, 'cause this is all decided.
You touched about this a few minutes ago, but I just want to see if you have a longer sort of plan. Where do you see the Kwerks in the future?
That is always the hardest question
is,
to ask,
yeah.
right? Because I have vague ideas. I would
Yeah.
like to perform to bigger and bigger audiences, for instance.
Each summer we've set like festival goals. So
Goals, yeah.
Yeah.
last summer we really wanted to play Mission Folk Fest.
Nice.
And so that happened. Our next goals are probably like the Vancouver Folk Fest or Calgary Folk Fest or some of those
Yeah.
bigger ones, which we're aiming towards.
They said my heart would break a million times. They said I shouldn't lay it on the line.
I know a lot of people in the industry and a lot of people that are up and coming and are trying to even just form a band. What kind of advice can you guys give to those listeners out there that are like, I want to start a band, or they just started a band? What can be their next steps?
I really think a lot of it comes down to goals. I mean, just figure out what it is you want. And sometimes that comes only through trying a whole bunch of things. But I think if you're willing to put yourself out there and be vulnerable, and know that it's not a competition among artists. That's one of my pet peeves is, you know, when people talk
yes.
competitively, we're all in it together. We're all vulnerable out there on those stages. And you know, even the coolest looking bands who strut in with their collars up, they're still vulnerable up on those stages, right? And so knowing that's the true scene, that everyone is sort of in it together, and that you can go up there and bare your heart, be yourself.
There's so many things that you can spend your time and energy on in music. Too many things that you can't possibly handle it. And when you're early on, you have to do it all yourself because you don't have the money or the network or the
Yeah.
contacts.
Yeah.
So to really, I think like Laura said, to have your points that you're going to focus on and then put your energy into those things rather than trying to do it all. I think we had to learn that lesson.
I can't tell where these feet may land. It's all the same. I'm open wide. I'll trip up, but I'll laugh and say it's alright. I got plenty of time.